Well, aren't you amazed, friend? Revealed in mid-2020 in Japan and released during the middle of November 2020 in North America, Amazing Rares were a subset, or cycle, of cards started in Vivid Voltage with 6 cards, those being Raikou, Celebi, Rayquaza, Jirachi, Zacian, and Zamazenta. With those 6 later being completed to the full set of 9 with Shining Fates in mid-February 2021 seeing the additional release of the final 3, Kyogre, Reshiram, and Yveltal. Only ever released as a part of those 2 sets in America, Amazing Rares are a niche part of the TCG's history, but a really neat part of it as well. They're all basics as far as gameplay goes, and feature only mythical or legendary Pokémon, which might be slightly boring to some, but I don't mind it at all. Though it does mean some Pokémon I would want to see in this style will probably never end up having their own card if Amazing Rares are ever revisited. Plus, I do find it kind of odd that some generations were skipped in lieu of some having multiple entries. I think it would have been fun to do one legendary or mythical from each generation at the time of this cycle's release, and then one extra for Sword and Shield because it was the spotlight generation at the time. But maybe they were thinking ahead and already planned to do more in the future for the rest of the generations. It hasn't happened yet though. Reactions to the reveal were seemingly mixed from the bit of research I could do, but it might just be because all of the arts weren't revealed at the time. The article I checked on PokeBeach 404's all of its images, so I'm not sure how many of the arts were even shown alongside the rarity announcement. But from other announcements I found online, seemingly 2 of them, Rayquaza and Jirachi, were initially given the spotlight. Which for my money, Jirachi is in my top 3 best looking cards in this cycle. Perhaps folks just didn't like the art somehow. I'm not sure because I couldn't see anyone dismissing that aspect of the cards in the threads I searched. But in general, people seemed kind of underwhelmed by the cards during the reveal and were almost disappointed, although there was a bit of excitement for them during this period that I could find. There was also a mistranslation error upon the initial reveal, so those in the West had a warped idea of their power level, thinking that they gave no prize cards when knocked out instead of the typical 1 prize card. Speaking of prize cards, how did this code card get here? What are you doing here, little friend? Regardless of initial impressions at reveal, in the current day, I think the art is gorgeous and the foil's texturing is superb, especially with how it extends past the frame and the way each card has a distinct outline that really makes them pop off the card in the right light. It's quite stunning if I'm honest. Plus, for the ones that were done by them, I think these are some of the cleanest and nicest looking works of art that 5-Man Graphics, the in-house art team for Creatures Inc., have done in the modern era. This is all coupled along with the fact that they look amazing as a set in a binder on a single page, with a big wow factor when you open up to them. Yeah, see? Look at that! Whoa! The only quibble I have with them, and it's not a real issue but more of a minor annoyance, is the actual card border. I love the old school yellow card border, but for cards like these, I almost wish they'd been printed in the Scarlet and Violet era with the silver border. But alas, it's not a big issue and they still look amazing. And this wasn't the first time cards had had anything printed outside of their frame. Creatures had done this before with the likes of the Ancient Trait and the Legend Pokemon cards. Ancient Trait Pokemon were cards that while they technically have no frame, they don't encompass the entire card like regular full arts would, and have a similar idea of their art extending out of the usual frame in fun ways. Same thing with the Legend cards, which were before Ancient Trait cards, and had the idea of encompassing so much more of the card that they ended up breaking out into multiple cards, which is super neat, but a pain to collect. I should know. I've been looking into getting some of them, and they are not easy to find complete or cheap. It's never both. Although Legend and Ancient Trait cards are kind of their own beasts worthy of a solo video about them each on their own, so I'm not going to delve into them deeply right now. Amazing Rares were pulled from the reverse holo slot, and while they were initially fairly expensive as a set, or on their own for some of the cards like Rayquaza, if you just want to buy them nowadays without doing the legwork, they're highly attainable and downright cheap for how beautiful they are. Each one features a legendary, or mythical Pokemon, and has an attack with amazing in the name somewhere. Every one of those attacks has at least 2 different energies in its cost, with one of the energy costs being one that doesn't match one of the Pokemon's in-game types. As far as using those attacks competitively goes, a few of the amazing rares had nothing notable to their name as far as tournaments go, like Jirachi, Reshiram, and Zamazenta, but most saw some play in their time, and a couple were even banned in a smaller format called Gym Leaders Challenge, with the 2 that were banned being Kyogre and Raikou, due to their dominance in the format's type-locked independent matchups. Sidebar, can I just say, I love niche internet communities, especially ones that revolve around some amount of being competitive. This image right here sent me over the moon while doing research. You can tell hatred went into making this. It's delightful and I love it. But regardless of that niche format, and mind you, this is just a smattering of some of the latest events listed on these cards' limitless TCG pages, some of them saw pretty high levels of success. Decks featuring Raikou placed 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th, 8th, 9th, and 14th, taking 7 of the top 15 spots at the April 2023 Philippines Regional League. That particular tournament was actually a showcase for quite a few of the amazing rares. Rayquaza and Kyogre both placed 6th at it, and Yveltal took almost the same spots as Raikou, instead swapping Raikou's 6th place finish for a 15th place one instead, also taking 7 of the top 15 spots. Yveltal is actually quite special as it seems to be, at least from my research, the only TCG card in the game's history with an unconditional your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out, and this led to it having many placements at other tournaments and quite a few first place finishes to boot. Zacian took 2nd place at the April 2023 Sydney Regional, and Celebi took 1st place at the June 2022 special event in Milan. And to round it out, again, the ones with nothing notable to their names are Zamazenta, Jirachi, and Reshiram. But we still love them. Some of them, like Yveltal, saw so much play though that their pages on Limitless TCG just go on and on, as you've been seeing. So despite whatever initially tepid reactions the cards had on their reveal, they ended up seeing competitive love, and I'm sure there are fond memories around the world related to that aspect of these cards. But it doesn't seem like they were much of a community success. Once the initial lukewarm wow factor of these cards dropped off, seemingly so did most of their prices. And price doesn't directly correlate to card popularity, but it seems to be a pretty decent indicator of what the community generally likes and is willing to shell out money for, pump and dumps aside. And the steady price declines into leveling out tells me that outside of some of the more popular Pokemon in the group like Rayquaza, there isn't much demand for amazing rares. I've even managed to find my fair share in general card lots or in loose singles boxes for under $1. That's how I even discovered that amazing rares existed, was by pulling them out of a bulk box. So if you're trying to complete a set of them, don't be afraid to ask your local card store if they have any bins or boxes of bulk cards marked by set. Most of the places I've been to, if you have an actual list of what you're looking for, and you're not just making the employee dig to dig, they'll take the time to find them for you in those boxes if they think they have them and know where they are. That's how I initially completed my amazing rare set. Or take the time yourself to crawl through the theoretical Pokemon trenches and get knee-deep in some loose bulk the next time you're at a card store. If you really start making money, you're going to make anything very good at what you learn. Hey. You with me, bud? So like I was saying, really get into the bulk boxes at your local card shops. Dig around in there, don't be shy. Or even ask around at pawn shops. I found these 2 the other day looking through a box of bulk at a local mom and pop hawk shop. Try saying that 5 times fast. All in all though, it's a real shame. Not that they're cheap and easy to find, but that they don't seem to have the universal love I feel that they deserve. I'm still a general newcomer / returning collector playing catch up and haven't seen every card out there in existence like some people have managed to do, but these are truly some of my favorite cycles of cards in the franchise that I've been able to find so far. With the congruence of all the factors involved, including the foil textures and outlining, the rainbow swirling and smearing of the backgrounds, and the expansiveness of the art with the backgrounds outside of the frame, and just simply some of the Pokemon chosen, I think it's hard to recreate the magic I felt the first time I was trawling through a box of singles and saw these unmistakably amazing card designs.